Now, Westbury residents in Johannesburg are calling for the immediate deployment of soldiers. It follows a shooting this week that claimed 2 lives and wounded 3 people. The Oliphant family lost their 19-year-old son, who was shot while on his way home with friends. The cause of the shooting is unclear, and the family says they now live in constant fear. Newzroom Afrika's Sitheliswa Beja is in Westbury and joins us now. Sitheliswa, a few days ago, we do know that the acting police minister was in Westbury. Has this allayed any fears for residents of this community?
A very good afternoon to you, Hugo, and the rest of our viewers. I mean, this recent shooting has also steered some fear again in this community. As you would know that in previous cases we've heard, cases of gang violence shooting, gang violence related shootings, and just criminal activities around this area, which is something that is different to what we are hearing at the Oliphant's house, Oliphant's home, where the 19-year-old Reese Oliphant, is from, essentially. The family that we've been speaking to have, told us about just how much of a peaceful person he was, and this area, this part of Westbury. And so this raises so many questions, really, about what really took place. And yes, indeed, the acting police minister, Faraz Kashelia, was here yesterday speaking to the media, talking about the fact that they are planning to deploy the South African National Defence Force, but saying that they still have to, monitor how, or rather give them training on how they are going to be policing, the areas, or rather police doing essentially police that is done, or work that is done essentially by the South African police services. As you remember that they are more of a defense force, so saying that they have not yet been ready, the defense force rather is not yet ready to be tasked, but they are looking into that. But today, as we are in this Oliphant's household, we are going to be speaking to the grandfather of Reese Oliphant, who was just only 19 years old. He turned 19 on the 19th of February. He had just finished his matric, Hugo, just last year. And, as we were speaking off air with his dad, he mentioned just how much of, an entrepreneur he really was. He really was looking to get into, an entrepreneurial work, as they already started. But right now, I am going to bring in the grandfather to tell us more about really what happened on Thursday afternoon. And that is, of course, Mr. Faisal Karim. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We understand just how difficult this is. But let's just go back a bit to Thursday afternoon. When you got the call that something had happened to Reese, what went through your mind, and what is it that they told you had happened?
My sister phoned me, and she just told me that Reese was shot 5 times. Mm-hmm. I couldn't handle it. It was like I'm dreaming. It was like it's a dream. But then she told me his heartbeat is fine, he's breathing on its own, so we had hope. I rushed here. We rushed to hospital, and we were at the hospital. We don't really know. Reese just went out. He wasn't even out for 10 minutes. Like his father explained to me, he went out for 10 minutes, and then they heard shots. And then someone came running and told him Reese was shot. And then he rushed him to hospital. He found him laying there, shot in the head, in the neck, in the back, in his arms. Ugly. It tore us apart. Well, when he was in hospital, we thought, we had hope. We prayed, and we had hope that he would survive, because his heartbeat was okay. He was breathing on his own. But unfortunately, he didn't. Yeah. It's another senseless killing. Yeah. And, if I must speak about Reese was our pride. Reese finished his matric last year. While he was in matric, he already started his own company, and he did so well. He did so well. He was a role model to his friends. He was a role model to his brothers. You know, we've got no complaints that we could say. And I don't know where the story comes of gang-related. Rhys never even thought of gangsterism. Or he was a quiet boy. Yeah. He was a quiet boy. He never bothered anyone.
And we do understand that in this shooting, a 15-month-old also, was shot. But what we've been hearing from the people that we've been speaking to is that this was no way gang-related. This was just a random shooting.
Yeah, it was because, as far as I know, gang-related, if it's gang-related, it's gangs against gangs. But Rhys was not a gangster. How can that lady be a gangster with a baby in her hand? Which gang could she belong to? It wasn't. It was random. It was random. So it makes us think that we're not safe anywhere. You're not safe in your own home even, because nothing is happening to these guys. The case is hot now, then all of a sudden it's quiet. No one comes back to you to say the guys are arrested or whatever the case may be. It never ends.
Yeah. Tell us about what the acting Minister of Police had mentioned, that there will be a South African National Defence Force team that will be deployed in Westbury. As you know, that obviously this is a crime hotspot. What is your faith in the police, service?
I believe the cops, what is the cops then doing? If they must, that's their job, isn't it, to combat these crimes. But now if they must get the defense force in, like the minister said, they must first be trained. How long, how many lives are we still going to lose then? Because they must be trained. But as far as I'm concerned, this is a war then. This is a war. Why do they need to be trained? Let them come as they are. Yeah. Because they soldiers, they go to war. So let them come. This is a war zone. Let them come and sort this thing out here.
All right. Mr. Karim, thank you so much. Hugo, that was Fazal Karim, who is the grandfather of Rhys Oliphant. As you'd understand that today, later on in the evening, there will be a candlelit memorial service for him to remember him, and as part of what he stood for. I mean, I can't really stop thinking about the conversation I had with his father earlier on. If my cameraman, my camera operator can just pan over to the side, and you can see just the work that he was doing, this young lad with his father. They were working hand in hand, and something that the dad mentioned is that he got this child when he was 18 years old, so they practically grew up together and they were in partnership. He had big dreams for him, and as well as Rhys has big dreams for himself as well. The community is saying that they've lost faith in the community, but we are going to try and speak to other victims of this shootout, but we'll get more information and give you an update as the day progresses, Hugo.
Sitheliswa, Beja, coming to us from Westbury.